I'd like to share with you how, or remind you how to log into your Meet and log students in. Google Meet has added a few features, so I just wanted to make sure you understood what those were and might want to do a preset to make sure they're set before you practice. I'm going to join my Meet here. I'm going to join. This microphone option should look familiar. So does the camera. There is a closed caption feature now where you can turn it on. Students will also have this on their side, so they can turn it on in either English or in a preferred language. There is also these reaction icons, which they had in Zoom for a while before Google Meet, but they are here. And I can imagine that some students might get kind of carried away. So I'm going to show you how to turn those off. This is our share button or our present button. Here's the raise the hand, and you'll see that you can see when you've raised your hand. I'll show you later on how you can see when students have done that. You can also in here change your layout. This is one thing that I'll show again when we have students in, and whether or not you want it to auto-populate, spotlight just what you're presenting, or have a sidebar of people on the side. When we did this in lockdown, you remember that there was an add-on that did this feature, and Google Meet didn't actually have it, so now it is placed inside their options. Over here, this shows you who is in your Meet. Again, when I was able to do this, when we were doing hybrid days, I could see who is here, and I can add students, or you can add people here, so you can invite them right away so they get an instant email. That's really helpful if they are just sitting there and they've forgotten the time, or to remind them to jump in. You can also mute them here. Here we have the chat, and again, let everyone send messages. We can shut that off here, but I'm going to show you where else to do it. And then here is the icon that shows you where your breakout rooms are. You can do polls on the spot. You can do a recording, and you can have transcripts. This is the new feature. So host controls, they used to have it someplace else. Now you'll see that this is here. I just want to point out here that my mic is off, and my mic is off for the Meet because I am recording. So hopefully you'll have that on when you're presenting. So here's where you can say you want to make sure that you are the host and those host controls are on. Contributors, do you want them to share their screen? If you're doing certain things, I think that if we were back in hybrid, or if we're doing these for full blocks, you might want to do that, but that does mean that students can bump you off. So I would shut that off. Do you want them to be able to have chats on the side? Gives you one more thing that you have to monitor. Do you want them to be able to do those reactions? On or off. And then these two, turning on the microphone and turning on their video, we want those on. Those, if you want to turn those off, it might be if you're doing just a presentation and you don't want any conversation or any questions going on. I'm going to join these different meetings, open to anyone, only trusted people, or restricted. The restricted is the one you want. That means that if you're doing it through a Google Classroom, that only students who are enrolled in the class can automatically join. Others could join, but you would have to approve to let them in. You also want that attendance tracking on. Do you want to allow question and answers? It went off automatically when I turned off chat. You could turn that back on if you wanted to. When you're doing your question and answer, you can put it on and then make sure that everything is approved before they get posted. Again, that's something else for you to be monitoring, so I'm not sure how many people want to do that. The time that's best for that is if you have a co-teacher who might be there and might be the one reading those things in the background. This add-on here, you also want to make sure that that is shut off. When that's off, it means that students can't go off and join a breakout room without you setting it up. So you want to make sure that those things are off. We're going to close that. And now we're going to invite some students to come in. Here that I've got people that want to join. Again, I didn't have any students in this class, so I need to invite or allow them in. You shouldn't have to do this as long as you are only inviting, have kids from the class. So you'll see here that I'm not presenting anything at the moment, so I just see the three of us who are here. So you'll see that this is pinned so that the presentation is the largest here. When a student is looking at it, they can change their format as well. And again, if they do the tiled, this is still largest because it is pinned. If they end up having everything the same size, once they pin something, it does make it the largest screen. If they don't need to see each other, they can change that layout so that it's just spotlight, so that that does make the presentation largest. On the iPad, they can see the participants along the bottom and then the presentation. If they want the presentation to take up more screen, they click the full screen icon on the bottom right. That then minimizes to just them and the teacher, and they can see everything that's going on there. If they want to put on their camera or their microphone, they then top the bottom once in that blank black space. Another new feature that Google's added is this annotation piece so that you can circle things that you're presenting. It does go away right away, but if you wanted to point things out, so you might want to play around with that as well when you're doing your practice. One thing that's really important to remember is that when you are presenting, you can't interact with that screen during the meet. So you might want to have that screen that if you're going to be clicking on it, going into different links or playing something or interacting with that presentation, you might want to open that up in your or on your iPad so that you can manipulate that or move things around. Because again, in this presentation here, I can only point out to what's on that screen. I can't flip to other screens. I can't go to anything through it. Thought that might be important to point out to you. Another new feature that they've refined is when the teacher leaves a meet, we can either end it for just me or for the whole class, which is a nice feature. Last time, sometimes kids could stay on longer or could get access earlier. That no longer is a problem. They don't get into the room or in the meet until you're there, and then you end it for everyone. If a student does raise their hand,